Welcome to our afternoon session. I hope you've had the opportunity to tour the campus and to tour our lab facilities upstairs, our auditorium, and our clinical suite. Now we're going to talk about the program Health Studies, but first of all, let me ask, how many of you were at the 9:30 session this morning, the welcome? A handful. Sorry, I have to repeat a few things because the majority of the people weren't here, and I'm here to welcome you to Western, and thank you for making the trip today to visit Western, the school, and the Faculty of Health Sciences. Western, you may not know, is a self-contained community of about 35,000 people, undergraduates, graduates, staff, faculty. We have our own campus police. We have a movie theater. We have restaurants. We have 9 residences. We have a wonderful grounds crew, and their work led to Western being named Canada's most beautiful campus, which you can't really tell with the snowbanks, but is it ever beautiful in May? So welcome to our self-contained friendly community with a giant recreation center across the way, which I hope you get the opportunity to tour if you haven't seen it already. Very important for you as you need to keep moving, you need to work on your nutrition, you need to sleep, you need to be healthy, and students in health studies, you are the future of health, and that's why you're here. Because people with gray hair like me are going to need you very soon, and we need you right now in our healthcare system. And we're here to prepare you for a variety of careers in health that you're going to hear about today. The Faculty of Health Sciences is a big faculty, roughly 4,000 students, which is the size of many universities in Canada. In these programs, we have 3 undergraduate course programs. We have nursing, kinesiology, and health studies. We have graduate programs. We have professional degrees in physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech-language pathology, and audiology, and also graduate programs, health and rehabilitation sciences, which some of you may be a natural fit for you for a master's or a PhD program. We also have graduate programs in kinesiology and in nursing. We also have first-class facilities. This, for example, is the site of your first-year classes in health studies. Personal determinants of health and social determinants of health. So imagine yourself in this classroom, professors at the front, you're sleeping in the back. No, you're not, because we have wonderful professors who are outstanding in their fields and will keep you hopping and keep you excited about your field, and it'll be a great learning experience. So we do have some great classroom facilities, and if you've seen upstairs, we have the latest in technology for your anatomy class with our 3D room, and our other laboratory facilities as well. So on behalf of the Faculty of Health Sciences, let me welcome you to our March break open house. And we're going to welcome some of our great staff to explain some of the questions that are probably lingering for you. I applied and I haven't heard yet. Or do you have any scholarships? Or is there any financial assistance? Or parents are thinking, how much is this going to cost me? We're here to answer those questions. We're also going to get an overview of what exactly health studies is, and we've brought in one of our best professors to do that for you today, and she's going to try and make sense for you. Not going to try, she is going to make sense out of our health studies program and the foundations of that program and what your 4 years here at Western will look like. So without further ado, I would like to invite the first of 2 of our most important people in our school, our academic counselors, to explain some very important information for you. Please join me in welcoming Nicole Sansone.
All right, hi everyone. Thanks so much for bearing with us today and sticking it out to the last presentation. We're glad you're here today. I'm going to give you probably about 10 minutes or so of information about admissions, about housing and scholarships. I'm one of the academic counselors here in the School of Health Studies, and my colleague Kent Robinson will jump in after me and he'll give you a bit of an overview of the program. I feel like I've spoken to a lot of you already today, so bear with me if some of the information is a little bit repetitive, but there's a lot of important things here. I just want to start by telling you, is that questions? Perfect. Okay, if you have any questions, I've been told that I speak fairly quickly sometimes, so if I'm rushing through things and you don't catch something, you can feel free to send an email during this session. We won't glare at you for texting during the session or anything like that. You can send us a question, and at the end we'll have hopefully about 20 minutes, 30 minutes to go over some of your questions. We'll start with the questions that have been sent in there, but we'll do the old-fashioned thing as well and come around with a microphone and see if anyone has any questions then.
So you don't have to email them, but you can if you're more comfortable that way, but I'll also run around and be a talk show host for a while at the end.
Okay, before I bring that up, that's the scariest slide. I hope no one saw that already. I'm going to start with the scariest slide for you and give you some information. But let me assure you, you don't need to worry. Hopefully by the end, when you leave this session, you're going to be feeling a little bit more reassured. So there it is. Okay, I'll give you a second to absorb that. So this is the general Western numbers here. There's about 33,000 Ontario high school applications that come into Western. That's for all the programs combined. Western will send out about 17,000 offers, and that's for a first-year class of about 4,900 students. Okay? And I totally understand if I was sitting in your chairs, I see how that is scary. The 340 spots that you see there in the health studies program as well. I used to work in admissions, and I can tell you you'd be shocked by the number of applications that come in that are in no way eligible for university. So when you see that 33,000, keep in mind, not all those people are even going to be eligible for university to start off with. Okay? Hopefully none of them are sitting out in the audience today, but I've seen applications come in where they don't have a single grade 12 university level course, not one. My only guess is that maybe their parents don't realize that they don't have any of those university level courses, and that's why the application is coming in. A lot of those students won't meet the cutoffs. We'll talk a little bit later about the academic standards for this program. It is a high cutoff. So when you see that, be confident that you will be one of those 17,000 students getting an offer sent out. And of those 17,000, hopefully you're one of the 4,900 that does accept their offer as well. So when will you find out if you're one of those 340 students in our first year class? Here's a bit of a timeline for you. So you can see, and you've probably heard this in speaking to people today and speaking to the admissions department, 3 rounds of offers going out. January, March, and May. Those are approximate. The January offer, it's a very small round of offers, so don't be upset if you haven't heard from us either in the January or the March rounds. The January round of offers, all we have at that point is your grade 11 grades, unless you've completed any grade 12 courses in your grade 11 year. So there's not a lot for us to go on. We're wanting you to have a very high grade 11 average for us to be saying, giving you a place right from then. March, it's another small round. It's bigger than January, but it's not as big as the May round. In March, we've got your grade 11 grades, and we've also got your first semester grade 12 marks. So that's what we're basing the decision on. By far, the largest round is going to go out in May. It'll probably be around the beginning of May, I think the first week or so. And at that point, we're no longer considering your grade 11s. So people always ask, do my grade 11 marks hurt me? They can get you an early offer of admission, but they're not going to stop you from getting an offer in the end. So at that point, we now have your first semester grade 12 grades and your second semester midterms. A little more information to go on. After that May round goes out, you've got about a month or a little less to make your decisions. So Ontario universities will all require a response by June 2nd. That said, that's going to guarantee your admission, okay? So if you don't get back to us right by June 2nd, there's usually still spaces available after that. But your residence deposit is due June 4th. Okay, and that's what's going to guarantee you a space in one of our residences in first year. You want to get that payment in. And just, again, to reiterate there, if you haven't heard from us yet, because probably not a lot of you sitting out there have an offer in your hand yet at this point, don't feel bad. Don't be concerned about looking at the person next to you and wondering if they've gotten in or not. The largest round of offers will go out in May. Okay, there's thousands of offers still to be sent out at this point. And you're not at a disadvantage at all either. That's the other thing. People will ask me about that. If you get an offer in May, you're no less likely to get the courses that you want or get a spot in residence. You'll be fine. Okay? Now, is anyone in the audience here not an Ontario high school student? Not parents, I mean, is anyone who's applied not a current Ontario high school student? So there's a couple? Okay, so I'll just run through this quickly. For all other students who are not currently in an Ontario high school, offers are sent out on a rolling basis. Okay, so you can ignore the January, March, May deadlines. And those will be sent out as we get all the information in. So you can log into that website there, student.uwo.ca, and make sure that the admissions office does have everything they need to be able to make a decision. Okay, there may still be documents outstanding. It's your responsibility to get those sent in. And then again, The response dates are going to differ based on when they send an offer to you, but that residence deadline is still June 4th. So just a refresher of what's required. How many people were at our fall preview day? Just a couple. Okay. So you may know this information already. We are looking at your top 6 grade 12 university level credits, including English, required for all programs, your biology grade, and we're taking one of your maths as well. And someone always asks, what if I took 2 of those maths? Okay. We're also taking your next top 3 grades. So if your other math course is still one of your top 6 courses, we'll consider it as well. Okay, we're not limiting you to one math course. And then you'll see at the end, chemistry is recommended but not required. Okay, when you see that, that's exactly what it means. We recommend that maybe you have a chemistry because a lot of our students like to take chemistry. Not required. It's not going to hurt your application in any way if you don't have that chemistry course. You can make it through our degree without ever taking chemistry if that's what you choose. And then I mentioned the high academic standards. So the cutoff last year was an 84.5, and we anticipate it'll be similar this year, probably around an 85. The first round, so people who heard from us in January and March, we were looking at an 87 average then. Okay. So some of you are probably sitting out there thinking, there's no way I'm going to ever meet that 85. If you're concerned, there are a couple forms you can fill out and submit to the admissions office. These are, as you'll see at the bottom there, only if your grades are really within like 3 to 5% of that cutoff. There's 2 different forms there I should mention. So the first one is the special consideration form. This is you've had a death in the family or you had an injury that took you out of school for a month. Okay? Anything that adversely affected your grades, Western will read every single one of those special consideration forms. So fill it out, let us know why you didn't meet the cutoff. And then the other is the extraordinary extracurricular activities and contributions to citizenship profile. I do not have that memorized. I had to look at my sheet there. And this is for students who are really involved, okay? Because we understand that some of you are committed to a lot of different things, student councils, sports, clubs, volunteer opportunities, all these sorts of things. And sometimes that takes away from your study time a little bit. So we still think you'll make a great applicant to our school. So we want to hear about that as well. So assuming you meet all those requirements, what can you expect here at Western? So Western has something called the Western Guarantee, and you've probably heard about this in your communications with Western so far. There's basically 5 main things that are covered, and I'll talk about some of them a little bit more. So the first one, admission scholarships. I've got a couple slides I'll show you about admission scholarships. Financial aid. So Western guarantees financial aid to any eligible student if your OSAP or your loans don't cover that. The first year courses you want. So if we admit you into health studies, we promise you you'll be able to take first year health studies. A place to live and residence. Western guarantees residence to all first year students who get their application in by that June 4th deadline. And then an extraordinary student experience. And this encompasses everything that you're seeing today. So this is in your classroom with your professors, with your opportunity for research. This is outside the classroom. It's everything that you want to consider when you're looking at these universities, right? You're going to spend 4 years here. You want it to be a place that you enjoy going to every morning, okay? So look at clubs, look at sports, look at opportunities to be involved, look at the campus. Hopefully you've got an idea of that today. Western promises a great, extraordinary student experience. So the first one there, admission scholarships, I'll go into a little bit more. You've probably seen this before. Western guarantees entrance scholarships to all students coming in with an 88% average or higher. And I know that seems high right now, but if you think about our admissions cutoff being an 85, you can see there are a lot of scholarships being given out to our students every year. These are automatic scholarships that you don't need to apply for. So you meet that grade cutoff, you get the scholarship. Keep in mind that these are calculated on your final grades, okay? So that's your motivation. You've got your offer in your hand and you think, okay, I'm going to stop going to classes. This is your motivation to keep working hard, because once we get your final grades in May, June, July, that's when scholarships will be finalized and we'll be granting those to all the eligible students, okay? And then I'll just mention quickly the Western National Scholarship Program. This one does require an application. you actually have to be nominated by your high school principal, and applications were due February 14th. So I'm not sure if we have any candidates here in the audience, but just some information there for you. They, I think, are sending out communication about that within the next week or so. So if you're waiting for a status update, you should hear that, and interviews are in April. Okay, so I also mentioned residence. Residence is guaranteed to all first-year students who accept their offer and pay the deposit by the June 4th deadline. Once you've submitted that payment, then you'll have access to this online questionnaire. So that's when you're going to rank your choices. If you're getting a chance to look around campus today, see what the different residences offer, you're going to have access to say, this is my first choice, my second choice, my third choice. And then those are given out by lottery. So every student ranks their 3. When residence assignments are handed out in mid-July, they're going to go through a lottery. So say you're number 1 in the lottery, you're probably going to get your first choice in residence, right? The one you ranked number 1. If you're last in the lottery, you might be looking at your third choice. It does tend to work out fairly well. The students have ranked their choices differently enough that most students are going to get one of their top 3 choices. Another thing to keep in mind in that lottery is that in that residence questionnaire, you can list a requested roommate. So if you've got someone that you know who's here today maybe, who you want to live with and you can imagine putting up with for your whole first year here at Western, you might want to request each other as roommates. Okay? So say the two of you request each other as roommates. Okay? If you get number 6 in the residence lottery and you get number 3,492, okay? You're in luck because you're going to get the top choice because he's number 6 in the lottery, okay? So keep that in mind. Choosing roommates can increase your chances of getting up in that lottery. You'll also indicate lifestyle preferences. So you'll see there's a bit of a questionnaire. You know, do you like to stay up late? Are you a neat person? When do you like to study? That sort of thing. We'll try and match you up as best as possible. Part of the fun of first year in residence, though, is living with someone new and learning how to manage that and being able to carry that over into everyday life. So keep in mind, you're not going to get someone who's exactly like you. And then you can also list any living communities. So you'll see, I mentioned there that the Health Studies Learning Community floor is in the Medway Sydenham residence. There's about 40 spots in that if you're interested in living with some like-minded roommates. And then I mentioned the building assignments go in mid-July. And the move-in dates then are August 31st and September 1st. So that's the basics, I think, that you need to know about getting in. A bit of an update for you. Like I said, we'll have time for some questions at the end. But I'm just going to pass it over to Kent now, who's going to give you a bit of a program overview.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. As Nicole was saying, it was great to see so many friendly faces in the audience. We had nice chats with some of the students and some of the parents already today. Really appreciate your time coming and hanging out with us for the next little bit. There's lots going on in Western today, presentations in a lot of different areas, so it's hard to plan your day and be in where you want to be, so we really appreciate that. So hopefully this information that we're sharing with you is very helpful and informative. But there's a lot of ways to follow up and get some more information afterwards. So I'll show you a slide at the end with some of the contact information. So what I'm going to go through is focus on some of the key areas about the program, what you're looking forward to, the ones that you have got offers already or hopefully get one shortly, what's your first year going to be like, and then beyond our program, what do you have to look forward to in the future. So one of the key program strengths of our program, we get a lot of comparison shopping. Any of you that go to the University Fair in Toronto in September, October, you're walking around all these universities or in the convention center, and you're comparing health sciences at Western with health sciences at McMaster, with life sciences at Guelph. You know, you want to see what are some of the differences. One of our biggest program strengths that we're really proud of here is the interdisciplinary approach that we take within our program. You know, health is obviously the main focus, but we are having students taking courses in a variety of areas. And what we're doing now, which is great, which is very unique, I think, with our program, is that we're having health courses with themes taught by professionals and experts in different areas. So we have this new healthcare law course that's been just amazingly received. The students just love it. It's taught by an actual law professor, Dr. Solomon, who's amazing. And students take this course in 3rd or 4th year and have an amazing experience. So whether you're thinking about going on to law for a career or not, a healthcare law course and all the things that are described within that is just an amazing experience for students. So we have collaborations with kinesiology, with nursing, philosophy, so on and so forth. There's just lots of opportunities as you go forward to get that diverse background training to open up so many doorways going forward. So what is that first year in our program like? It's pretty straightforward. We get a lot of questions about that today. So, and again, you're comparison shopping. You know, our program in first year is much different than the MedSci program in first year, which is very specific to the science courses they want you to take. Our program, we have one very specific science credit in biology. We also have a couple of the health sci courses, personal and social determinants of health. So that's the only for sure courses you need to do in first year. The other 3.0 elective courses, your choice. If you love science, you can certainly take some extra sciences. But you don't have to take them all. So you may love chemistry. Well, I don't know if anyone loves chemistry. I surely never did. But whatever it may be, if you love chemistry, if you love physics, maybe you take one but not the other. You know, you're planning for a future career where you may need one or the other. You know, you can pick and choose. We have 2 required courses, 3 electives. So students are taking courses in psychology, the affiliates, as you see there, Huron, Kings, and Brescia, they have a whole bunch of unique courses in different areas, global studies, and so on and so forth. So it's really nice in our program where we have a couple of the core courses, but we also give you that flexibility to choose other areas. And it opens up other options going forward in different programs and gives you that nice diversity in first year. So we're proud of that, keeping that diversity in first year. So as you go forward, I've had a couple of very impressive coming to talk to me today, talking about how they already knew that in first year you're just in a general health sciences degree. Okay, you're not in one of those specific focuses that you see up here in first year. You are in health studies, but you're just in a general health science degree in first year. It's this time next year, during what's called on campus the intent to register process, where you intend to register in the program module or modules you want going forward in second year and beyond. So you can see most of our students are striving for honor specializations. So those are the areas right now that our students are focusing on. Most are doing just general health sciences, but there's programs in health promotion, rehab science, health sciences with biology. We have different program modules that you can focus on beyond year 1. We also have some combined options, getting very popular now, the combined program with the Ivy Business School. Ivy does a great job combining their school with programs on campus, and we're one of them. So after a couple of years in our program, you have the option of maybe doing the combined program. So in essence, you're getting 6 years of education in 5 years. You're getting our 4-year honors specialization, and you're getting a 2-year HBA through Ivy. So that's something that's gotten very popular. You can work together with nursing. There's just lots of collaborations that you can do. You don't need to do an honors degree. You can certainly do a non-honors specialization. You can focus on a single major. These things are a little confusing when you start out. That's why people like myself and Nicole are available to help you when you start here in first year, and we can kind of explain that kind of stuff. We have lots of presentations in first year as well that we give to help clarify and go through how this all works as you go forward. So don't get too worried about what you see there, just kind of showing us all the different options. And what's great about our program is we have a ton of students that don't just focus on health. They like psych, or they like med-sci, or they like philosophy, so they may minor or major in another program area as well. You don't just have to focus on the health side of things. Hopefully everybody's grabbed one of these documents already. They're easily accessible once you leave today out in the hallway. But we always point out the first couple pages. Our communication girl, Jess, has done a great job putting this together, a nice little summary sheet talking about what our program's about. And why I like to point it out is showing people like Erica. You'll see there a nice profile. Her name was Erica Barbazes. She's a recent graduate from our program a few years ago. And you can see her typical course selections. You're not going to have the same courses. But of course, you know, you can look at that and you get a sense of, you know, what might I be doing as a student in the health studies program. Why I like to point out Erica as a great example and why we use her in this book is she's like a lot of you. I could ask you to raise your hands, and I know I would see a lot, thinking, what's my top career goal right now? Medical school, or something related to that. Erica was one of those students. So when you look at her first year course selections there, you'll see she took bio and health, which she had to, but then she also took chemistry and math, because she was thinking med school at the time. Loved our program. She was very active with extracurriculars. By the time she got to 3rd and 4th year, she was so diverse, learning so many neat things, having so many great experiences, she decided to go in a different direction. So by the time she got to 4th year, and she was one of our best students, she probably could have gotten to medical school if she had applied, She decided to go and apply for a Master's of International Health Policy at the London School of Economics, and now she's working with the World Health Organization and did a really cool internship with them, and now she's actually working with our students, getting our current students internship opportunities with them. So it's just so many examples. I'm going to go through a couple more in a little bit of what you can do with this degree. So one of the other big strengths of our program is all those great smiling faces you see up there. Those are our friendly, smart, amazing professors that we have in this program right now. It's a huge strength of the program. That's some of them. That's not all of them, but a lot of those are the core faculty that you're going to have an opportunity to take courses with. From Shauna Burke, who you'll hear from in a bit. She'll have you in first year. Dr. Erlin, Dr. Kirkwood, Dr. Zesevich. These are professors that teach our second year core courses and things like child and health and anatomy. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge strength. You're going to see those aren't fake smiles. Those are genuine smiles. Really love to get to know their students and do a great job in the classroom. They get great feedback, rated very highly. So I think you're going to really feel that's a big advantage of our program once you start. All right, so just to kind of go over that future of choice. You start our program. Where am I going with it? What we do is we put a lot of stuff in the top right-hand corner there, because that's where the majority of our students are striving towards when they start, at least when they start. That's what they're thinking. So physician, therapy programs like PT, OT, speech-language pathology, audiology, those are the common ones that students start out. But as you can see, although that's the main focus, so many other areas, and that's just a sampling. I'm going to show you some more specific ones in a little bit here, but you know, it really is your future of choice. Health studies degrees, again, really diverse. Med school is right there for sure. So many other options. So let me show you this next slide here. I'll focus on med school at first, because again, I know that's a huge focus with a lot of students when they start out. So we have a lot of students like Amanda, who graduated a couple years ago. She's now in Western Medical School. And she used her degree here to go on to medical school. And as you can see, you can kind of read the information there at the bottom. She wasn't just about being a good student with good marks. She was very diverse, did a lot of really good extracurricular activities, was very involved as a student, and she continues to be heavily involved as a medical school student. You know, a lot of our students keep in touch with us once they graduate, and Amanda's one of those students. But it's not just Western. We have students, this is just from the past 2 years. Medical schools that our students have gotten into in just, like I said, the past 2 years. So the Ontario schools, as you may know, there's 6 in Ontario. So we've had them go to places like Western, McMaster, and NOMS is the Northern Ontario Medical School. And of course, they go all over the world, Caribbean, Poland, Australia, so on and so forth. So medical schools exist, of course, all over the world. And if you can't get into one of the 6 in Ontario, because it is very, very competitive, there's certainly lots of options elsewhere. But I also wanted to really point out some of our other outcomes. And again, really want to reinforce, this is just the past 2 years. All right, we have a lot of data that we're gathering now to showcase where our students are going farther back in the past and as we go forward. But this is just the past 2 years, some of the highlights of where some of them are going. So these are master's programs. Some of the titles and some of the locations of where they've come out with their health studies degree and are working in really interesting programs and things like e-health, going overseas at places at the University of Sheffield, just a variety of places. Therapy-related programs. After med school, that is easily the number 2 thought of students when they start the program. So if it's not medicine, they're thinking things like occupational and physical therapy. Other professional programs, and again, you can see it's not just Ontario, it's throughout the world, but we're talking teaching, nursing, dentistry, audiology, so on and so forth. Post-degree programs. So everybody always focuses on university, but there's some amazing programs out there in other models. So continuing study programs, which basically follow a college model. You can see some of the highlights there. We have a lot of students going on to things like occupational health and safety management, child lifestyles, child life studies. Again, that's just a sampling. And of course, very important, especially for the parents who are helping you invest a lot of their hard-earned money into your education. They are wondering, you know, can I get a job right out of my degree? And absolutely. Although we are a feeder school to a lot of those professional and graduate programs that I've already listed, there's a lot of opportunities for direct employment right out of your degree. And so there's some sampling again of the last couple of years. Students have done internships and direct employment opportunities here in London, throughout the world. And you can see, I mean, they're going to Pakistan and I mean, literally just all over the world to do really amazing things. I guess the pictures aren't coming up. Anyway, we had a couple of pictures there. The ones that are in purple, I've highlighted a couple of the students, Alyssa and Colin, that are doing those programs at Queen's and over in Ireland. For some reason, the pictures aren't coming up. So that, like I said, that's just a sampling. I think you're really going to love it in the program. Your first year classes, like I said, will be in this room. It's really kind of neat. What we had the opportunity for, I don't think anyone else on campus had this opportunity, is at the Olympics, we opened up this room. The Center for Olympic Studies is upstairs. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. Every 4 years during the Olympics, we get people here in the program, people like our Associate Dean, Dr. Walmsley, get interviewed and talk about the Olympic issues. And so anyway, we have a Center for Olympic Studies here. They did an open house down here. They opened up this room, and on the big screen they had the gold the gold medal matches for the men and women. So it was very exciting that students, staff, faculty were to come in this room and have an opportunity to be together and cheer on. The women's match was very exciting. The men was kind of boring because it was so easy for them. But for the women, how exciting was that? Last 5 minutes of the third period, those that watched the game, and then the overtime. It was just a great experience. You know, those are the kind of things as a student in our program, you get those opportunities. Come in a room and have a lot of great fun. So what I'm going to do now is pass it on to Dr. Walmsley, and he's going to introduce Dr. Burke, and she's going to give you some really good information as well.
Thank you very much, Kent. There are some VIPs here who will be available to answer questions at the end of our session. I'd also note that they teach in our undergraduate program in Health Studies. Let me introduce to you the Director of the School of Health Studies, Dr. Marita Klosik. Stand up and be recognized, please. And also beside her is our undergraduate chair, Dr. Debbie Fitzsimmons. Next, we have a treat. She is going to talk to you about the program of Health Studies, years 1 to 4, making sense of the Health Studies programs and some of the things that you will examine. She is an expert in child and youth health and health promotion and childhood obesity, and one of our rising star professors in the School of Health Studies. Please join me in welcoming Professor Shauna Burke.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Wow, there's lots of you here today. Welcome. It's really nice to see so many people here today, actually, learning a bit about the program. And what I'm going to try to do, what I was sort of thinking about, what's the best way to get as much information as possible out about this wonderful school? I kind of thought I'd structure it along the lines of the 5 W's. So, you know, what's the most important information? And that's probably, I thought, the best way to structure it. And also very appropriate, right? 5 W's for Western, right? Makes sense. So the first W is welcome. Welcome to Western, to the March Break Open House. How many of you are from out of town? Okay, so a lot of you. Welcome to London. I'm really biased. I was born and raised here, so I think it's a fantastic city. Western's obviously a wonderful university, and truly the School of Health Studies is a world-renowned program. So I'm really proud to be standing here today talking to you about this program. So just a little bit about myself. Dr. Walmsley kind of already mentioned this, but my name is Shauna Burke, and I am an instructor here. For those of you that have already chosen to come to Western, and for those of you that still have yet to make a choice, if you do choose, you will get to know me next year in this very room, as we've mentioned, because this is where I teach the personal determinants of health course, right, in this very room. So I do hope to see many of you next year. I'm also a researcher, so in addition to teaching, like all of our faculty members, I'm a researcher. So like Dr. Walmsley said, my primary focus is in health promotion and in child and youth health. So you can see the top picture there is one of the classes that wasn't in this classroom, but teaching the personal determinants of health from my point of view. One day I decided that I'd snap a picture so you can see how intimate that is, right? All 500 of us. But really the class sizes they get smaller as the years progress, as they do in most programs, and it's a great we have a great time in the course. The picture on the bottom is a program that we ran here at Western called CHAMP, and that was for children with obesity and their families. And I point this out because I think that was a research program, but one that a lot of our undergrad students as well as our graduate students got a chance to be involved in. And that's really, I think, one of the big strengths of our school is that we do, students and of our university, is that, students do have opportunities to be involved in a lot of really cutting-edge, exciting research projects. Okay, so the next W is why. The first question that kind of pops to mind with why is why are we all here today? And I think kind of in a nutshell, we're all here because we value education. We have an interest in education, whether it's for ourselves, for our children, for our students, but really it's education we're interested in for our future, for all of us, right? The next why is, well, why the School of Health Studies? And again, the choice you make for the program that you decide to attend really has to be one that's right for you. Interestingly, according to UNESCO, in the next 30 years, there are going to be more graduates through some form of education than ever before. Okay, so, and due to really a large number of factors, including technology and sort of the transformational effect that that's had on work and academics, really, the future landscape of careers and career options is really unpredictable. There are jobs that we are educating people for that we really don't know exist yet, right? And so we all have a vested interest in a quality educational experience. And really that's what we're hoping to provide here in the School of Health Studies. What will you learn? If you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day, thinking the students that enter our program in the fall will likely retire around the year 2061, right? So that's a lot of future, isn't it? That's a lot of working years. And as I just mentioned, nobody really knows with certainty what the world's going to look like in 5 years, 10, 20 years' time. And one of the most important jobs for us is to help educate people and help to prepare people for this future. So how do we go about doing that? And I think one of the most important things, particularly in the School of Health Studies for us, and in keeping in line with the World Health Organization's definition of health, is that we really focus on the whole being, right? We focus on the whole student. And I'll elaborate a little bit on what I mean by that. But really so that, we're not just focusing on academics here, although that's obviously very important and why we're all here to begin with. So Dr. Kim at UNESCO also highlighted the need to prepare young people for a rapidly changing world. And he says, we're living in a time of rapid technology and labor market changes. Employers and the industrial sector need people with creativity and higher order thinking skills. The young generations, especially those who enter the job market for the first time, have to keep pace with these changes. So we're aware of this, right? And we're also aware of the types of skill sets that are important not only now, but that will be important for the future for our students as they leave university and embark upon their own careers. And the vast array of careers, as Kent just mentioned, that our students embark upon. Now we also think about employability, right? And it's been suggested that employability refers to things like being able to think outside of the box, right? To be creative, to solve problems, to work with a team and to work independently. So it's not just about a degree anymore, right? It used to be you had a degree, you had a job. And if you didn't have a job, it's because you didn't want one, right? Now that's not necessarily the case. So it's about, skill sets and training. It's about open-mindedness. It's about critical thinking skills, right? Being able to work independently and with a team, but being able to identify problems that are new and emerging. Now, not only identify them, but how do you tackle those? How do you approach those with all of the things you've learned throughout your degree and your foundation? So you've heard a lot about, you know, the specifics with regard to the School of Health Studies. And you know, we do have a number of award-winning teachers in our school, and we're very fortunate to have that. Our students are very fortunate. And really, in you know, the vast array of courses you can take, really what we're hoping to do in students is to produce and to educate students so that they have a depth and a breadth of knowledge in a wide variety of health-related fields, a knowledge of research methodologies, the application of knowledge. So that's really important, right? What does this all mean? I remember when I started in my undergrad, my dad saying to, you know, I was telling him all these things. He said, well, why does that actually matter? What does that mean? How can that help real people? Right? So we talk a lot about that. Communication skills, obviously a skill set that's important for any career. The critical appraisal of research, and of course focusing on this independence and professional development as well. Right? So we're not just training people to become health professionals. Right? We're empowering and providing students with the skill sets that they will need to leave university and to be able to focus and bring those skill sets to jobs that don't even exist yet. Right? Now this is a slide of one of our graduates, Soumya Krishna. Now she was recently awarded was one of 11 Canadians awarded a Rhodes Scholarship. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's a highly prestigious scholarship given to outstanding students to study at the University of Oxford. Now I don't just show this slide to kind of highlight that she's a graduate of our program, which we are very proud of, but because I think her journey is really important to share. And Kent talked about Erica's story, and this is very similar. Soumya came to Western with a clear focus. She wanted to be a doctor, and that was her path. And then actually, it was a first-year course that she took, Social Determinants of Health, that opened her eyes to a completely different way of thinking about health and about a lot of the health issues that she had heard so much about but thought she would tackle kind of only through this medical perspective. And that led her on a completely different path, and obviously one that worked out very well for her, I would say. So, you know, that's another example of, you know, you might have a clear focus, which is wonderful, but that open-mindedness is really important as well, right? Because there are other options and there are tons of possibilities, which is really exciting for our school. Okay, so I talked about how we focus on the whole student experience. We really do pride ourselves on that in School of Health Studies. So for example, we do require that all first-year students have a mandatory counseling session with one of our wonderful counselors, Nicole or Kent, and that's just to ensure that everything is going smoothly, that things are on track academically, and that's really helpful for a lot of students coming in. We also require students to take a first-year tutorial that focuses on things outside of the academic world, but that's all related. So things like respect, responsibility, conduct on Facebook and Twitter, and these things that students might not think of having any impact on their professional careers or their educational careers. Things like effective note-taking and study techniques, how to write multiple choice exams and essays. You know, we focus on mental health, and more importantly, the resources that are available to students on campus, and we have plenty, as well as in the community. Exchange and internship opportunities. Things like searching for a summer job and creating a resume, right? Those are all important aspects, parts of being a student. And of course, how to select courses and program plan. We also have something called a co-curricular transcript. And again, you know, talking about the whole person, this kind of recognizes students for their participation in things like community engagement and volunteer commitments. And this type of transcript actually accompanies the academic one. So students are recognized for these things, these important contributions. So who will you meet? Who will teach you? In addition to the 340 incoming School of Health Studies students, you will also have an opportunity to meet, to interact with, and to work with a number of professors throughout your 4 years at the university. So I mentioned that I'm a researcher as well as an instructor, and that's the case for all of our faculty members, and I think one of the many strengths of our school. So what this means is, although, or in addition to the fact that we have a lot of award-winning instructors, we also have world-renowned researchers. And what that means for you is that these people are able to bring this cutting-edge research right into the classroom. And it also means that you have opportunities to become involved in this exciting research, right? So that's interesting and important. The second point is that we are interdisciplinary, right? And this has been touched on. What I think, actually, I recently watched a TED Talk, and it was by Sir Ken Robinson, who's an English author. Not Kent Robinson, who's also a very insightful man, I might add. But so what he said was that, and it really struck me, was that intelligence and creativity is brought about by seeing and feeling and interpreting the world from a number of different perspectives. And I think that really gets at this focus on being an interdisciplinary school, because that's how we approach teaching about health, right? Through a number of different perspectives. We can focus on the same issue, but from different lenses, and that's critical to get a well-rounded understanding of health. Lastly, we do have these cross appointments, which is really unique to our school, like Kent mentioned. So those are things like some of our professors, also have an appointment at the Schulich School of Medicine, or law, or the Ivy School of Business. So you can actually, learn health law from a lawyer practicing in the field, and this is really unique and important to our school. And frankly, I think that in addition to the students that make our program what it is, the staff and the faculty in our program really have contributed greatly to the success story of the School of Health Studies at Western. And lastly, where? Where will you study? Well, literally, you will study right here in this very room if you choose to come to Western, like we've mentioned. But more generally, I do hope to see many of you in the fall. Again, having said that, as I kind of pointed out earlier, I think that this is a choice that's an important one for you. It has to be right for you. There's a lot of uncertainties, like we've talked about. There's a lot of uncertainties in terms of job prospects in the future. But one of the things you can control right now is knowing your options, right? And so that you can make informed decisions. So I applaud you for being here today, and I thank you for being here today. And I wish you all the best of luck and hope to see many of you soon.